Friday. Welcome to another episode of the Cattle USA Daily Podcast. First and foremost, sorry for kind of ghosting you guys this week. Long story short, just was a crazy week from hell, if I'm being completely honest. Sorry about my co-star guest in the back seat. That will all get explained here in a moment too. But so you know those weeks where you're like, I know it's gonna be, it's okay, go lay down. Where you know it's going to be a busy travel week, and so you've got everything planned out to a T. So on Monday and Tuesday, I was gonna be gone, out of town, photographing a wedding in Branson, Missouri. So we had our Monday episode with Gary come out. Everything was great and grand there. Well, Tuesday comes around and I get sicker than Sam Hell. Like, absolutely on my deathbed. We're coming back on Tuesday and I'm like, I am not doing good. I'm not doing good in the slightest. It was a 5.5-hour trip back, and just like it started with head congestion and like the throat. I felt like I was swallowing razor blades. It was not fun. And then the second I get home, it immediately hit me. And I think my body just got home and was like, okay, we're home now, so we're going to fall apart into a million pieces. And that is exactly what happened. I was not doing good Tuesday night. Had a fever, all of the things. And then Wednesday morning, I wake up and I just feel like I'm on my deathbed. I'm like, guys, I have not been this sick in so long. I'm a person that does not get sick. And so when I do, I think my body is like, you know what? You don't get sick very often. So when you do get sick, we're going to make it just a million times worse for you than it could possibly be. And so Wednesday, I was on the struggle bus, to say the least. I didn't get out of bed until like 11 a.m. And then by the time I did get out of bed, I made it a whole you're fine, go lay down. I made it a whole 10 feet to the couch. And that was pretty much it. I slept all day long. I did end up going to the doctor, and at first they were like, we think you have I don't know if I can say this, if I'm going to get censored, if they hear this word in the transcript or whatever, but it's the C-vid. They thought I might have had that, and which would have been so embarrassing because I have not gotten that once in the last 5 years. Never got it. I worked as a nurse on a COVID unit floor. Never got it. I would have been so embarrassed. That's honestly embarrassing. If in 2025 I were to get it, but apparently there's this new strand out there that mimics the flu, and they're calling it razor blade throat. And so they're like, we think you might have that. Well, thank God I did not have that. But they're like, we also don't really know what you have. You have some really nasty viral thing. Because not only did I get sick, my employee Allie, who was with me in Branson, also got violently sick. And so we were just both on our deathbeds, absolutely worthless this week. And so they got me on a steroid, and they were like, also, you're going out of town, so here's some other stuff that if this doesn't work, you don't get stuck in an urgent care in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming for half of a day. But luckily, the steroids are working. We traveled up to Wyoming yesterday. So that was a 12-hour trip, and I was still sick. I was feeling much better. I didn't have a fever anymore. Finally broke my 102 fever that I had, but it still was just not a fun travel day. I wouldn't wish traveling sick on my worst enemy. It was not fun in the slightest. Even if you have your husband drive, it's still just not fun for anyone involved. And so we are up actually in the Bighorn Mountains this weekend. We are here with family. This trip has been planned for a little while. My in-laws actually live here in Wyoming. And so we are here with them, and it has been such a fun trip, but also really humbling for someone who has not been camping like this, in a tent camping in 10 years, if not longer. No, 10 years is probably about right. 8 to 10 years. I haven't been camping in a tent. Obi-Wan, you're fine. Go lay down. Go lay down, you little anxious kid. And so last night we got up here, got into the mountain, and we have no service, which is absolutely amazing too. So last night we get up, we get our tent set up, get everything going, and we set up our tent that is supposed to be a tent that can fit 2 queen size beds. That is not true. It barely fit 1 queen size air mattress, and it was hilarious. Just us trying to get that set up. And then it was 35, 40 degrees last night, and it was a humbling experience. I enjoyed it in hindsight, but it was cold. It was cold, and I was not ready for sleeping on an air mattress in a tent in the woods in 30 degrees. I was not ready for that. And so this morning I woke up a little grumpy, but I had my Red Bull. Gary and I recorded our podcast for Monday right before this. And so he got me all excited again. And I was like, you know what? We're going to get this Friday episode recorded out to you guys, even if it is a little late. But I am finally to a point where you guys can hear my voice. I don't sound like I smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. And we're going to come on and we're going to have fun. The kids, aka my dogs, and I came into town down the mountain about 20 minutes, and we are sitting in the parking lot of a Baumgars right now recording these podcasts, which just feels very fitting. It is Friday. We're bringing the Friday energy for you guys, but we're also going to bring, I just spent the first probably 8 minutes of this episode talking about how crazy of a week it has been. I am sorry for not bringing you guys any episodes this week. I feel really, really terrible about that. Not even having any banked for you guys to just be able to schedule and throw out, even if they were maybe not as timely or things like that. But we are back, and next week I'm very excited for, because we have multiple guest episodes coming out next week, which is we have some really good ones lined up, which I'm very, very, very excited about. And then some guests that I'm working on getting lined up for the next couple weeks. It's just going to be really great for all of you guys, and I know you're really going to enjoy it. But today, I wanted to come on and talk about leases in partnerships, which I know is probably like, Lauren, you just talked about all of this other stuff, and then you're going to talk about leases and partnerships. Yeah, you know what? I am, because this is an episode that I already had outlined, and I was like, you know what? This is something that I'm pretty passionate about as far as a business mindset goes, as far as just what it means to look at this from a business mindset and as a businessman, along with a cattleman's perspective. And so we're going to be diving into that today. And so first and foremost, leases and partnerships are so common in the ag industry, and they're really vital to a lot of operational success. And they're really vital to a lot of people being able to either start a new venture or do something new or expand their operation or stabilize or diversify or whatever that may mean for you. They're really, really important, but we need to walk through thinking about it from an outside perspective of, is this actually worth it? And is this actually going to align with my future business plans? Is it going to serve my long-term goals? And with that, what are your long-term goals? Are you trying to grow? Are you trying to diversify? Are you trying to stabilize? If you are, does that align with them? And if it is just short-term cash flow, that's fine. But you need to be honest about that. Be honest about why you're getting into these certain scenarios and these certain situations. The next thing you need to be asking yourself is, what is the worst case scenario? If I'm walking into this partnership, what is the worst possible thing that can happen, and how are we reacting to that? If the market tanks, what if your partner bails? What if the landowner dies? Are you still protected in the end? And what does that look like for you as the partner, as the lease owner, as whatever situation you are in? Are you still protected? Is your operation protected if the worst case scenario happens? And then I also want you to be asking yourself, what are you bringing to the table, and what is your partner, or what is the other person that's involved in this bringing to the table? Because everyone's bringing something, whether it is sweat equity, is it capital, is it cattle, is it land, is it know-how? What is that? And the reality of it is someone is always going to bring more than the other. It must be clear who is doing that and what those things are. The biggest thing about these situations is communication. Are you communicating clear and effectively with the people that you are entering these partnerships with? Because if you're not, and if you're not communicating it clear, and if it's not in the contract, then I can't feel bad for you if shit hits the fan, because then it was your own damn fault, right? At the end of the day, you have got to have clear communication. And I am sorry, my cold is still kind of hanging out a little bit. So sorry if I'm a little sniffly and groggy this morning. But the next part, I just kind of mentioned the contract. So your contract matters. And I love that we live in an industry where handshake deals can be respected and looked at as a contract in themselves. But at the end of the day, you need something in writing. You've got to put it in writing. Even if it is your cousin, your mentor, or your best friend, you need to be putting it in handwriting. And the reality of it is, a handshake deal is not business strategy. So put it in writing. And within that writing, you need these things. You need clear timelines and terms. So this looks like start and end date and the payment structure. You need defined responsibilities. Who does what and when does each person do those things? You need exit clauses. So what happens? What if a person wants out? What does that look like? Have an exit clause in there for yourself and the partner. You need dispute resolution in there. Don't wait until things go south to figure it out. Are you doing mediation? And I highly, highly recommend putting dispute resolution in there and making it something like mediation, because no one wants to go to court. No one wants to go to court. Court is expensive. Court is not fun for anyone involved. So putting something in there like mediation, where you are going to have a third party come in and you are going to work it through that way. Number 5, I want you to have profit and loss splits. So don't just assume 50-50 if one of you is doing all the labor. If one of you is doing all of the things, what does that look like? Are you being paid for what you are contributing to the partnership? If one person is bringing more, like we talked about earlier, is that person being compensated for bringing more? And if they're not, is that being communicated clearly? Is it a situation where it's okay for the first couple years if the split is not 50-50 and we're going to be doing 70-30 or 60-40 for these first few years, and then you're either the contract is up and you revisit the terms, or you're putting in your contract that for the first year this is the split, the second year this is the split, or these are the pay, like all of the things. And you also need to have loss splits in there. What happens if you don't make money that year? What happens if that business or that partnership does not become fruitful? And the reality of it is in a lot of situations, first year partnerships or new business plans aren't always profitable in that first year. So what does that look like? What are you going to be doing in those loss situations as well? Who is responsible for paying for that loss? How are those loss splits going? Everything like that. Next, let's talk red flags, because there's the reality of it is there are situations and scenarios that we don't always know need to be avoided until they are. I really want you to avoid vague language like we'll figure it out. When you are going through a business deal, no, not we'll figure it out in the future. We'll figure it out right now. Like we have a moment. Let's talk about it right now. Let's figure it out in this moment, because it can't be a we'll figure it out or we'll cross that bridge when we get there. It needs to be done right now. If you don't have a written plan for unexpected costs, that is also a big red flag. I need in your contracts or somewhere, it doesn't even have to be in your initial contract, even if it is like an amendum to your contract, whatever that is, a written plan for unexpected costs, because the reality of situations are there are unexpected costs around every single corner. So what are you doing for those unexpected costs? Who is paying for them? How are you differentiating if it is an unexpected cost that is needing to be paid for by the partnership? Or like, how is that all getting figured out? You need a written plan for those, not let it be one of those situations of we'll figure it out when we get there. And then I also really want you to avoid partners who avoid accountability or hate discussing finances. Discussing finances is uncomfortable. Being real about partnerships is uncomfortable. Let me think. I have almost entered 3 different business partnerships over the last few years that I look back on now, and I am so glad that I was real with myself in those situations and didn't actually sign the contracts, didn't continue pursuing those partnerships, and either let them fizzle out, had a hard conversation, was like, hey, I don't think this is a good fit, or whatever that situation and scenario was, because I look at those with hindsight now and I am like, that would have been a shit show. That would have really freaking sucked if I was in a partnership with that person, because they either were not a reliable person, they didn't like talking about finances, they were wishy-washy about signing a contract, they were just hard to get a hold of, hard to work with as a person. I had one of those, and I have such a thriving business now in one of my businesses that I'm doing all on my own that I didn't think I could do on my own, but I am. And A, it proves to me that I'm capable of doing really hard things myself and I don't always need another person. And B, it really reinstills the fact that trust your gut on these situations. Trust your gut and listen to your intuition, because you're probably not wrong on that. And also allow yourself a lot of time to go through these negotiations and have these discussions, because if I didn't allow myself multiple months to discuss these partnerships and these business ideas and these situations with people. And I even started, I trialed some stuff with these people. Like before we officially entered a business plan contract and got all the LLC set up and everything like that, we did some test runs. Like we did a few little projects that we were like, we're just going to see how these go and see if we can work together well, see if this is fitting the vibe, everything like that. And they didn't go well. And it was a situation where I was like, thank God, I trialed this now and didn't let this be something that I was like, we need to get a contract together and sign all this stuff and do all of these things before I even knew how that person worked as a business person. Because, oh my gosh, my life would look very different if I was in some business relationships with people that weren't good businessmen and weren't just good people for me to be working with. And I do have some partnerships that are amazing partnerships. Don't get me wrong. I have 3 business partnerships that are phenomenal. Some where they're like, I am very much in the background. I'm more of a silent partner. And then some where I am very front and center and they are very front and center with me. And we have a lot of different situations and dynamics that I have really great relationships with. So I don't want to say this and turn you guys off from business partnerships and relationships, because they can be really good and really fruitful if they are the right ones. If they are the right ones and they are with the right people and you take time to actually let yourself sit in negotiations and not try and throw something together in a month and be like, good enough, and just jump into something. Like, this comes from a person who patience is not my strong suit in the slightest. And so taking multiple months to do something is really hard for me, but I promise it pays off in the end. So, okay. Also, talking about things that I want you guys to be watching out for, here are some other things. So, like, not necessarily red flags, but just things to be on the lookout for. So the too good to be true partnership or lease. So if someone is offering you land, cattle, whatever it is with no strings attached, you need to read the fine print twice and maybe 3 times, and then maybe pull out a magnifying glass, because the reality of a situation is you don't want to be stuck in a spot where it is hard for you to get out of because you didn't read the fine print twice. Read the fine print twice and maybe even have a lawyer look over it. I highly recommend that. If you've been listening to us on this podcast and you have that team of people, that banker, an attorney, all the things like that, reach out to your attorney and be like, hey, I'm going to hand this to you. I want you to look over this and please tell me what is good and what is bad, loopholes, all the things. The next thing is the silent partner trap. And I know I just said that I'm in a business where I'm kind of a silent partner, but I want you to look at it and see if the person that wants that is just in it for the upside, but not the involvement. This is a situation where it is fine to have a silent partner, but those clarifications of expectations need to be set early. You need to clarify those expectations very, very early and just be clear about that communication. The next one is overpromised profit shares. If someone is sitting next to you and they're promising a 30% return in year 1, I would be a little concerned about that. I would be sitting there asking for receipts. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not saying it's not possible. Just ask for receipts. And then going into probably the one that is the biggest for me is personality clashes. A partner who micromanages or avoids conflict or doesn't like to talk about finances. All of those things can tank progress faster than anything else. Absolutely, the first thing that will ruin a business is 2 people that just have an inability to work together and just don't have the personalities that work together well and can build a business well. And that is fine. It might be a great business idea, but the 2 of you just aren't the 2 people to be doing it together. So how can we take all of this that we talked about today and move forward with confidence, move forward with a plan, and what can we be doing to walk into these leases and these partnerships and everything else as a business mindset well and with efficiency? First and foremost, I want you to run the numbers, and then I want you to run the numbers again. And then I think I want you to run the numbers again. And then I think I want you to call your banker and have them run the numbers, because running the numbers will give you confidence if yourself and your personality isn't giving you confidence in the first place. So run the numbers. Next, I want you to bring a lawyer. Bring in your attorney. It is worth the upfront cost. I am telling you right now, especially when you're drafting contracts and everything like that, there are a lot of amazing online tools that can draft a basic contract for you. Like if you tell it all the things that you need to be in there, it can draft something pretty basic and it might be okay. But God forbid you guys sign that contract and then you get in a disagreement and you actually need to pull that thing out and you're not protected. That is a worst case scenario. You could lose an entire business and have nothing to show for it, all because you didn't spend the $1,000 to have your attorney write up the contract, look over agreements, and help walk you through that in the first place. Next, I want you to start with trial runs or short-term agreements where possible. So this is going back to what I said earlier of If you can have a trial run before you sign a contract, that is a great situation to get to know how that person works as a business person, how your communication is going to go, how your personalities are going to work together, everything like that. If you can have a trial run, or if you can have a clause in your agreement that says like the first 3 months is a trial period where like either of us can leave, no questions asked, and this is what that's going to look like, that is great. That is awesome. Even like if you need to sign a 3-month contract in the beginning where you're just signing 3 months instead of 2 years, do that. Absolutely do that. And then, okay, with that, I want you to be brutally honest about your risk tolerance and energy bandwidth that you have as an individual, because we all only have so much. We all have a tank, and it is getting drained in a million places. And so what is your risk tolerance? What are you willing to risk for this partnership and this business to work? And then what is your energy bandwidth? What energy do you have to provide to this? If this is a situation where you need to be providing 10 hours a week to this and you only have 5 to give, you need to be real honest with yourself and real honest with that partner about that, because either that partnership is going to fail and you're not going to be able to give that 10 hours, or something else that within your life is going to fail because you're now giving 10 hours to this and you're giving less to something else. So what is your energy bandwidth? And sometimes you might be in a situation where you have to redistribute your energy for a little bit. And that's okay. That's absolutely okay. Here's the thing. You're not always going to be able to give 100% to everything in your life. If you're giving 100% to your business, you're probably not giving 100% to your family. And there is going to be times and seasons where things have to flux and you have to fluctuate and move things around, and that energy bandwidth is going to move. And that's okay, but you need to be brutally honest with yourself, with your partner, with your family members, everyone around you, of what that's going to look like. Next, I want you to document everything and document it in writing, every single thing, every single conversation that you get off of, if it's a phone call, if it's a meeting, everything like that. I have an AI software that in the background of my meetings records all of the meetings, A, and then B, gives me like within 5 minutes of the meetings, I can have it give me like a meeting summary of takeaways, things we talked about, decisions that were made, and I can ask it specific questions. And like, I've got it down to a point where all I have to do is like generate the thing and it gives me an exact summary of everything that I wanted from that meeting really quickly. And what I do is immediately after that meeting, I go and do that. I copy and paste those notes. I send that to that business partner or that person that I was on the meeting with, all the people I was on the meeting with, and I say, here is a summary of our meeting. If anything is incorrect, looks astray, like looks wrong, or we need to change something, please let me know here and now, but here is the summary of our meeting. And so I am documenting, A, I'm recording it, but then B, I'm also sending that email chain verification. I'm documenting even verbal conversations, because it is so important to cover yourself in those situations, because I've never had to use anything against myself. I've never had to use any of that to be like, no, you said this, or this is what we discussed, but I have it in case I do. And then also that goes back to communication. Now I'm presenting myself as a good communicator. I'm protecting myself by documenting everything, but I'm also communicating well with my business partners, because I'm showing that like, hey, this is what I heard from what you told me. I'm confirming that this is correct and that we are all on the same page here, and that we all know our tasks and our roles correctly after coming out of this meeting, that like we're ready to go and we're ready to handle and communicate the next thing. And then that goes into my last point. Communicate like your business depends on it, because it does. Your communication is going to be the make or break for your business. If you cannot communicate well, your business is going to fail. So I need you to be texting your people, calling, emailing, over communicate. Like, be annoying at times, because I would rather a business partner be all up in my business and sending me things all the time and updating me on progress and sending me reports and doing all of that than ghosting me for a week. And then I'm sitting here like, well, did they do anything this week? Did anything get done? Is our business growing? Is it failing? Do I need to go look at the bank account and make sure we're not bankrupt? Like, over communicate like your life depends on it and like your business does, because it absolutely does. And that goes into every aspect of your life. Just be a good communicator and really work on that. So here's the thing. At the end of the day, guys, a lease or partnership can unlock growth that you can't reach alone. And that is amazing, but only if it is structured right and if it is structured smart. So be a smart business person. And with that, do not be afraid to walk away if the numbers and the vibe just don't feel right. That is totally fine to look at that and be like, that's not for me. It's not for me. And it is time to walk away. And there have been some really hard businesses that I've had to give up or that I've had to step back from, or I've had to look at and be like, you know what, it's not right now. It's in the back of my mind, but it is not a right now thing because it's not working. It's either the numbers aren't there or the person isn't, or the vibe is off. Trust your gut, trust that intuition. If you don't come out of this podcast with anything, please just trust your gut and trust your intuition and believe in your own ability to gauge whether people are in it for the right reasons. The thing is there will always be another opportunity, but there won't always be a way to fix a bad one. So with that, don't let yourself walk into a bad opportunity. Let yourself sit in that situation and be like, this is uncomfortable right now, but I'm going to walk away, because if I walk away, I am saving my energy, my time, my financial bandwidth that I have right now to pour into something that is so much better that is coming down the line. Because if you get into a bad partnership right now, there could be something so much better coming. And in 6 months, you're going to look at it and be like, now what do I do? This amazing opportunity came to me and now I can't do it because I'm in this bad situation that I rushed into. So really realize that there will always be another opportunity, but there isn't always a way to fix a bad one. Leases and partnerships can be a great thing if done right and if done well. And I have seen firsthand the ability to have great ones and to just have a really successful business because of these things. And so I want you all to have that as well. And so take this podcast episode and let it be your sign and your situation where you can look back on your life, look back on your businesses and really analyze everything. Analyze what you were going through, analyze situations and be like, okay, we're going to take the time to do this and we're going to take the time to do it right. And this is what that's going to look like. Because it can be truly amazing and it can be truly fruitful if it is done right. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little chit chat today and my probably 10 minutes that I spent at the beginning. I'm just updating you guys on life and everything that is going on right now. I hope you all have a great Friday. I'm recording this mid-morning on Friday and I'm doing it with my hotspot again in the Baumgars parking lot. So hopefully I'm able to get this out by early this afternoon for everyone and you guys can just get updated on everything that's going on and we can talk about leases and partnerships and where the hell has Lauren been all week and get you guys a Friday episode so that you can end your week on a positive note, on some uplifting stuff. And at the end of the day, guys, I am just so grateful for all of you, for this podcast, for the opportunity to come on and just chit chat with all of you guys about things in ag, things about business, and bring on some amazing guests for you guys. And it wouldn't be possible without all of you guys as our listeners. And I am really, 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 really just grateful. And I hope that you all take some time this weekend to go do something fun, go do something enjoyable, go enjoy the amazing weather that you are having. I know Wyoming is having great weather this weekend. Even though I froze my tush off last night and I was freezing my tush off this morning, it is getting better and it is supposed to be in the 70s on Saturday. And so I just keep on reminding myself about that. I started this morning with 4 layers on and now I'm down to 2. And I'm even about to shed my sweatpants that are over my leggings. So it is up to 62 degrees, which I think is just perfect weather up here in the mountains. Now that is 62 degrees at the bottom of the mountain. I don't know if it's going to be 62 degrees when I go back up the mountain here in a little bit, but I'm going to enjoy it while I can. And I hope that you all take some time this weekend, go enjoy some time with your family, go do something that just lights your soul on fire and that can bring back some amazing energy into your week next Monday. And we recorded a podcast with Gary today for all y'all next Monday. And let's just say that it's going to be a great one. Gary and I are bringing in some really awesome fun facts. And then we're talking hurricane season. We're talking the weather that we're having right now and everything else that is bringing with it. The cycle, the LRC cycle, what all of that means, all of that jazz. So make sure you look out for that on Monday. And I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. And we will talk to you all on Monday. I hope you all have a good one and we'll see you later.